I found them in my bedroom on a Tuesday afternoon. The rental agent stood behind me in the hallway. They had driven 40 minutes to photograph my bungalow. Medical bills had piled up for 8 months. The house had to go. I opened the door to my own room. Brandon lay across the quilt my mother had stitched. A woman sat beside him. She was not my daughter. He saw me. He did not move. The woman reached for her blouse. Sunlight cut across the floorboards. A watch gleamed on my dresser. Lipstick marked the rim of a water glass. Brandon smiled. It was not an apology. The agent stepped back into the kitchen. Their shoes made soft sounds on old wood. I stood in the doorway and counted my breaths. He spoke first. His voice carried no shame. He said Lily would never leave him. He said my daughter needed him. He said I should knock next time. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The woman's name was Tessa Clark. I had heard it before at a family dinner. She worked in marketing. She was 26. Brandon swung his legs off the bed. He buttoned his shirt slowly. He looked at me the way men look at inconvenience. I did not argue. I turned and walked down the hallway. The agents apologized. They said they could come back another day. I told them it was fine. I told them the house was ready to sell. They left in a white sedan. I sat at the kitchen table. The clock above the stove ticked. The refrigerator hummed. Outside, the ocean moved in its old rhythm. I thought about my daughter. Lily had married Brandon 3 years ago. She worked night shifts at the hospital. She came home tired. She stopped painting. She stopped calling as often. I thought about my husband. Robert had been gone for 2 years. He had worked as an investigative journalist. He kept notebooks in every jacket pocket. He taught me to watch for patterns. Brandon drove away in a black SUV. The company logo shone on the door. He had told us it was a perk. I picked up my phone. Daniel Ortiz answered on the second ring. He had been Robert's closest friend. Now he worked for the state as a financial crimes investigator. 3 months earlier, Daniel had asked me a question over coffee. He wanted to know if Brandon's lifestyle matched his salary. I had shrugged. I had not paid attention. Now I told him what I had seen. Daniel did not sound surprised. He said he would make some calls. He said I should document everything. I walked back into my bedroom. The bed was unmade. The water glass still sat on the nightstand. I took a photograph with my phone. I opened the dresser drawer Brandon had used. Inside I found receipts. Restaurants I had never heard of. Hotels in cities Lily had never mentioned. I photographed each one. The sun moved lower. Shadows stretched across the walls. The house felt different now. It felt like evidence. I thought about Lily's hands. She used to paint landscapes. She had strong fingers and a steady grip. In the last year, her hands had started to shake. I thought about the way Brandon touched her shoulder at dinners. It looked like affection. It felt like ownership. I thought about the mortgage on their house. The new car. The furniture that arrived in trucks. Lily's hospital salary could not cover all of that. I made tea. I sat on the porch. The ocean turned gray as the light faded. Purpose settled into my chest. It felt like heat after a cold swim. I would not confront Brandon. I would not warn him. I would do what Robert had taught me. I would follow the money. I would gather evidence. I would wait. The next morning, I met Daniel at the diner on Highway 12. He ordered coffee. I ordered nothing. He slid a folder across the table. Inside were bank statements, transfer records, account numbers I did not recognize. Daniel said his team had been watching Brandon for 8 months. They had found irregular transactions, ghost clients, profits that disappeared before reports were filed. The sum was close to $2 million. My daughter's name appeared on 3 accounts she had never opened. Daniel said Brandon was not sloppy. He was careful. He had built a system. He said men like Brandon always had an exit plan. Offshore accounts, burner phones, a trail that pointed to someone else. Usually the spouse. I asked what he needed. He said he needed Brandon to make a mistake. He needed Brandon to speak his intentions out loud. He needed it on record. I understood. I invited Lily and Brandon to dinner. I said it was for Lily's birthday. I said I wanted to celebrate. I cooked the meal Lily had loved since middle school. Chicken roasted with lemon. Potatoes browned in butter. A cake with too much frosting. Brandon arrived in a pressed shirt. He kissed my cheek. He complimented the house. During dessert, I mentioned the bungalow. I said I needed to sell quickly. I said the medical bills were piling up. Brandon leaned forward. His eyes brightened. He said he knew people. He said he could help. He said there were ways to move property fast. I asked how. He said he had access to private investors. He said his firm handled special closings. He said I could avoid the usual delays. I wore a wire under my cardigan. He named a shell company. He described an escrow process that ran through his office. He said his fee would be 15%. I nodded. I asked small questions. I sounded grateful. The recording caught every word. Lily sat beside him. She smiled when he spoke. Her smile did not reach her eyes. After they left, I stood in the driveway. The stars were out. The air smelled like salt. I thought about my daughter's hands again. How they used to hold brushes. How they shook now when she poured coffee. I thought about Robert, about his notebooks, about the way he used to say that evidence does not lie. I went inside. I uploaded the recording to Daniel's secure server. Then I sat on the porch and waited for the tide to turn. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The wire recordings arrived in my email 3 days later. Daniel had cleaned the audio. Brandon's voice came through sharp and clear. Every word about shell companies. Every number about escrow fees. I listened twice. Then I deleted the email as Daniel had instructed. The plan required more than one conversation. Prosecutors needed pattern. They needed Brandon to repeat himself. They needed proof of intent. Daniel asked if I could visit Brandon's office. I said yes. The building stood downtown on Fayetteville Street. Glass and steel. 20 floors. A lobby with marble that echoed footsteps. I wore a navy dress. Low heels. A purse that held the wire. The elevator climbed in silence. My reflection stared back from polished doors. Brandon's office sat on the 14th floor. Corner view. Windows that framed the city skyline. His assistant offered coffee. I declined. Brandon stood when I entered. He shook my hand. His palm was warm and dry. He gestured to a leather chair. I sat. The office smelled like expensive cologne. Framed diplomas lined one wall. A photograph showed Brandon shaking hands with a state senator. I told him I was ready to move forward. I said the medical bills could not wait. Brandon smiled. He pulled a folder from his desk drawer. Inside were account summaries, investment projections, a timeline for the property sale. He explained the process slowly. He used simple words. He spoke as if I did not understand numbers. I asked small questions. I sounded uncertain. He said his firm specialized in discrete transactions. He said they helped families preserve wealth. He said privacy was their priority. The wire recorded every syllable. He mentioned a buyer. A limited liability company based in Delaware. No names attached. Just capital ready to move. I asked about the closing timeline. He said 2 weeks. Maybe less. I asked about my current financial advisor. I said the man had started asking questions. Questions about family gifts. Questions about where money had gone. Brandon's smile tightened. Just for a moment. He said some advisors did not understand modern wealth management. He said they clung to outdated methods. He said I deserved better guidance. He offered to consolidate my retirement accounts under his care. He said it would simplify everything. He said his firm charged lower fees. I nodded slowly. I said I would think about it. The wire caught the tremor in his voice when he pushed harder. He said time mattered. He said opportunities closed quickly. He said I should trust him. I thanked him. I stood. I left. Outside, the afternoon sun felt too bright. Traffic moved in steady streams. People walked past in business clothes. I sat in my car for 10 minutes. Then I drove home. That evening, Lily called. She asked if I wanted to meet for lunch. She said Brandon would be traveling. She said we could talk. We met at a cafe near the hospital. White walls. Small tables. The smell of roasted vegetables. Lily looked tired. Her scrubs had coffee stains. Her hair was pulled back tight. She ordered soup. I ordered tea. She talked about work. A difficult patient. A new supervisor. A schedule change that added more night shifts. I asked how Brandon was doing. She said he was busy. Always busy. Meetings that ran late. Clients who demanded attention. I asked if she was happy. The question hung in the air. Steam rose from her soup bowl. She said she was fine. She said they were building a life. She said these years were an investment. I did not push. We finished lunch. She hugged me in the parking lot. Her body felt thin. Her shoulders were tight. I watched her drive away in a car she had not chosen. That night, I called Daniel. I told him about the office visit. I told him the recording was clear. He said his team was ready. They had enough for a warrant. They would move soon. He asked if I could arrange one more meeting. Something that put Brandon on record discussing the property transfer directly. I said I would try. 2 days later, I invited Lily and Brandon to the bungalow for Sunday dinner. I said I wanted to finalize the sale. I said I needed Brandon's advice. The weather turned cold that weekend. Wind came off the ocean. Clouds gathered low and gray. I set the table with my good dishes. I made pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans cooked with bacon. Brandon arrived first. He carried a bottle of wine. He said it was expensive. He said I would appreciate the vintage. Lily came 20 minutes later. She apologized for being late. She said the hospital had called her in early that morning. We ate slowly. The food was good. The conversation stayed light. After dinner, I brought out the contracts Brandon had sent. Thick paper. Legal language. Signatures required on 8 different pages. I asked him to explain the terms again. He walked me through each section. His voice was patient. His tone was practiced. He said the LLC buyer would close in 10 days. He said the escrow would run through his firm. He said my money would be available immediately after signing. I asked about taxes. He said his firm would handle everything. He said they had accountants who specialized in estate sales. I asked where the money would go. He said into an account he would set up for me. An account that earned better interest. An account his firm managed. The wire recorded it all. Lily sat beside him. She watched his hands move across the papers. She said nothing. I asked one final question. I asked what happened if the sale fell through. Brandon laughed. He said it would not fall through. He said the buyer was committed. He said I was worrying about nothing. He placed his pen on the table. He looked at me directly. He said I should trust family. He said family took care of each other. I told him I needed one more day to think. His jaw tightened. His smile stayed fixed. He said delays cost money. He said opportunities had expiration dates. I said I understood. I said I would call him tomorrow. They left before dark. Brandon's car pulled away fast. Gravel kicked up from the driveway. Lily's car followed slower. She did not wave. I stood on the porch until both cars disappeared. The ocean roared in the distance. The wind smelled like salt and rain. Inside, I uploaded the recording to Daniel's server. Then I sat at the kitchen table. The contracts lay spread in front of me. Pages and pages of theft disguised as help. I thought about Lily's face at dinner. How she had watched Brandon's hands. How she had said nothing. I thought about Robert. About the way he used to mark up documents with red ink. About his voice when he found inconsistencies. The phone rang at 8 that night. Daniel said the warrant was approved. He said they would execute it in 3 days. He asked if I was ready. I said I was. Outside, the first drops of rain began to fall. The roof drummed softly. The house settled into darkness. I sat and listened. I waited. The storm was coming. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The arrest was scheduled for Wednesday morning at 9. Daniel called Tuesday night to confirm. He said Brandon had requested an early meeting. He said Brandon wanted my signature on the contracts. He said the timing was perfect. I slept 4 hours. The rest of the night I spent listening to the ocean. Waves crashed in darkness. The sound was steady and old. At dawn, I made coffee. I dressed in gray slacks and a cardigan. The wire technician arrived at 7:30. She was younger than Lily. Her hands moved quickly. She taped the device under my bra strap. The wire ran down my side. The battery pack sat against my ribs. She tested the signal twice. Her laptop showed green bars. My voice came through clear. She left through the back door. Her van disappeared down the beach road. I set the table with 2 mugs. I put out cream and sugar. I arranged the contracts in a neat stack. The doorbell rang at 8:55. Brandon wore a charcoal suit. His shoes were polished. He carried a leather briefcase. He kissed my cheek. He smelled like mint and aftershave. He said he appreciated my flexibility. He said the buyer was eager to close. He said today would change everything. I offered coffee. He accepted. We sat at the kitchen table. Morning light came through the windows. Dust floated in the sunbeams. Brandon opened his briefcase. He pulled out fresh copies of the contracts. He had already signed as the firm's representative. He showed me where to initial. 8 pages. 12 places total. I picked up the pen. I held it above the first signature line. I asked one more question. I asked where exactly the money would go. Brandon's smile stayed fixed. He said into the account he had opened for me. He said the routing information was on page 6. I turned to page 6. The account number meant nothing to me. I asked if the account was in my name only. He said yes. Of course. He said I would have full access after a brief processing period. I asked how long. He said 72 hours. Standard banking procedure. The wire caught the lie. Daniel had already confirmed the account required Brandon's authorization for any withdrawal. I set the pen down. I said I wanted to read everything one more time. Brandon's jaw shifted. He checked his watch. He said the buyer needed the documents by noon. He said delays would kill the deal. He said I was making this harder than it needed to be. The doorbell rang. Brandon's head turned toward the sound. His eyes narrowed. I stood slowly. I walked to the door. I opened it. Daniel stood on the porch. 2 agents flanked him. All 3 wore dark suits. Their faces held no expression. Daniel spoke first. He asked if Brandon Hale was present. I stepped aside. Brandon rose from his chair. His briefcase fell. Papers scattered across the floor. Daniel entered. The agents followed. Their shoes were quiet on the wood. Daniel identified himself. State Financial Crimes Division. He showed his badge. He told Brandon he was under arrest. Embezzlement. Wire fraud. Conspiracy to commit fraud. The words filled the small kitchen. They settled like weight. Brandon's mouth opened. No sound came out. An agent moved behind him. Handcuffs clicked into place. The metal caught the light. Brandon found his voice. He said there was a mistake. He said his lawyer would clear this up. He said he had done nothing wrong. Daniel read him his rights. The words were formal and practiced. Brandon had the right to remain silent. Anything he said could be used against him. Brandon turned toward me. His face had changed. The confidence was gone. Something desperate had replaced it. He said I did not understand. He said he was trying to help me. He said family looked out for each other. I said nothing. I stood by the window. My hands were steady. The agents walked Brandon toward the door. His feet dragged slightly. His suit jacket bunched around the handcuffs. At the threshold, he stopped. He looked back at me. He said Lily would never forgive me. He said I had just destroyed my daughter's life. The agents moved him forward. The door closed behind them. The kitchen went silent. Coffee cooled in the mugs. Contracts lay scattered where Brandon's briefcase had fallen. Daniel stayed. He asked if I was all right. I said I was. He picked up the contracts. He slid them into an evidence bag. He said these would matter at trial. He said Brandon's office was being searched right now. He said they would find account records, email chains, evidence of other victims. He said I had done the hard part. I asked what came next. He said Lily needed to know. He said she needed to hear it from me. He said she needed to hear it today. I called her cell phone. It rang 4 times. Her voicemail picked up. I left a message. I asked her to come to the bungalow immediately. I said it was urgent. I said it was about Brandon. She arrived 23 minutes later. She was still in scrubs. Her shift had just ended. She parked crooked in the driveway. She ran to the door. Her face was pale. She asked what happened. She asked if Brandon was hurt. She asked where he was. I took her hand. I led her to the couch. I sat beside her. I told her Brandon had been arrested. I told her the charges. I told her about the wire recordings. I told her about the money. She shook her head. She said it was impossible. She said Brandon would never do that. I showed her the evidence Daniel had left. Account statements. Transfer records. Her name on accounts she had never seen. She read slowly. Her hands began to shake. She asked how long I had known. I told her about finding Brandon with Tessa. I told her about calling Daniel. I told her about the recordings. She asked why I had not told her sooner. I said I needed evidence. I said I needed enough to make sure Brandon could not run. I said I needed to protect her. Her face crumpled. Tears came fast and silent. She said she had trusted him. She said she had given him everything. She said she had been so stupid. I told her trust was not stupidity. I told her manipulation was a weapon. I told her she was a victim. She cried for a long time. I held her. The ocean moved outside the windows. When the tears stopped, she asked what happened now. I said we would meet with the prosecutor. I said we would go through everything together. I said she was not alone. She asked about the house, the cars, the furniture, everything they had bought together. I said assets would be frozen. I said the court would sort through what was stolen and what was earned. She asked where she would live. I said here, with me, for as long as she needed. She looked around the small bungalow. The faded furniture, the old curtains, the kitchen where she had eaten breakfast as a child. She said she did not deserve my help. She said she had ignored the signs. She said she should have seen what Brandon was doing. I told her hindsight was a cruel teacher. I told her survival was what mattered now. She asked if I was angry with her. I said no. I said I was angry at Brandon. I said I was proud of her for listening. We sat together as the sun moved across the floor. The light changed from white to gold. Shadows grew longer. She asked if she could stay the night. I said yes. She asked if I would go with her tomorrow to get her things. I said yes. She asked if this would ever stop hurting. I said yes. Eventually. I said pain was not permanent. I said she was stronger than she knew. Night came slowly. We made tea. We ate soup from cans. We did not turn on the television. Lily fell asleep on the couch. I covered her with a quilt. Her face looked younger in sleep. The lines around her eyes had softened. I sat in the rocking chair by the window. The ocean was black and loud. Stars came out one by one. I thought about Robert, about the way he used to say justice was slow but certain. About his belief that evidence always told the truth. I thought about Brandon in a cell somewhere. His suit wrinkled, his confidence shattered. I thought about my daughter breathing softly under the quilt. The hard part was over. The healing would take longer. But we had time now. Time that belonged to us. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Lily woke before dawn. Her eyes were swollen. Her scrubs were wrinkled from sleep. She asked if we could go to the house. She said she needed clothes. She said she needed to see what was left. We drove in silence. The highway was empty. Street lights blinked off as the sun rose. The house sat in a new development. Identical mailboxes, matching shutters, lawns cut to the same height. A sedan was parked at the curb. Daniel stood beside it. He had warned me the house was now a crime scene. Yellow tape crossed the front door. The windows were dark. Daniel handed Lily a key. He said she had 30 minutes. He said she could take personal items only. Nothing financial. No computers or files. Lily's hand shook as she unlocked the door. Inside, the air was stale. Breakfast dishes still sat in the sink. A coffee mug had grown mold. Lily walked through the rooms slowly. Her footsteps echoed on hardwood floors. The living room looked like a catalog. Gray couch, glass coffee table, abstract art that meant nothing. She stopped in front of a painting on the wall. She had made it 4 years ago. Before the wedding. Before everything changed. It showed the ocean at sunset. Bold strokes. Deep colors. Her signature in the corner. She lifted it off the wall. Dust outlined where it had hung. In the bedroom, the closet was full. Suits hung in neat rows. Shoes lined the floor. Brandon's side was organized by color. Lily's side was smaller. Scrubs mostly. A few dresses she never wore. She pulled a suitcase from the shelf. She packed quickly. Underwear, socks, jeans, t-shirts. She opened her jewelry box. Inside were pieces Brandon had given her. A necklace, earrings, a bracelet with diamonds. She left them all. She took only her grandmother's wedding ring. In the bathroom, her toothbrush sat next to Brandon's. She threw hers away. She packed her medication, birth control, vitamins, migraine pills. The kitchen smelled sour. Lily opened the refrigerator. Food had spoiled. Milk had curdled. She took nothing from the kitchen. In the garage, boxes were stacked against the wall. She found the one labeled art supplies. Paint tubes, brushes, canvases she had not touched in years. She carried the box to the car. Back inside, she walked to Brandon's office. The desk was bare. Police had taken the computer. File cabinets stood open and empty. A photograph sat on the bookshelf. Their wedding day. Brandon in a tuxedo. Lily in white. Both of them smiling. She picked up the frame. She looked at it for a long moment. Then she dropped it in the trash can. We left with 2 suitcases and 3 boxes. The house locked behind us. Yellow tape fluttered in the morning breeze. Daniel followed us back to the bungalow. He carried the boxes inside. He said the prosecutor wanted to meet. He said her name was Rebecca Walsh. He said she specialized in financial crimes. The meeting was scheduled for Friday. 2 days away. Lily spent Thursday in the spare room. She unpacked slowly. Her clothes fit in one drawer. Her art supplies stayed in boxes. I heard her crying through the wall. Soft sounds that lasted hours. At dinner, she ate 3 bites. She pushed food around her plate. She apologized. I told her grief took time. I told her appetite would return. She asked what people would say. She asked if everyone would think she knew. She asked if her coworkers would believe her. I said the truth would come out. I said evidence did not lie. She asked if she would lose her job. I said no. I said she had done nothing wrong. I said hospitals needed good nurses. She said she felt dirty. She said Brandon's touch was still on her skin. She said she wanted to scrub herself raw. I told her that feeling would fade. I told her time was the only cure. That night, she took a bath. The water ran for an hour. Steam filled the hallway. When she came out, her skin was red. Her eyes were clearer. Friday morning arrived cold and gray. Rain threatened but never came. We drove to the prosecutor's office in Raleigh. A concrete building near the courthouse. Security at the entrance. Metal detectors. ID checks. Rebecca Walsh met us on the 3rd floor. She was tall. Early 40s. Gray suit. No wedding ring. Her office was small and organized. Files stacked precisely. A single plant on the windowsill. She shook Lily's hand firmly. She asked us to sit. She explained the case carefully. Brandon had been stealing for 3 years. Multiple victims. Shell companies. Fake investments. Money moved through offshore accounts. The total was closer to $3 million now. New evidence had surfaced. Lily's name appeared on 17 accounts. Accounts she had never opened. Signatures forged on paperwork. Rebecca said Lily was a victim. She said the evidence was clear. She said no charges would be filed against her. Lily exhaled. The sound was shaky. Rebecca asked if Brandon had ever been violent. She asked if he had controlled finances. She asked if Lily had access to bank accounts. Lily answered slowly. She said Brandon handled all the money. She said he called it his gift to her. She said she could focus on nursing. She said he checked her phone sometimes. He said it was for security. He said he worried about her. She said he did not like her friends. He said they were negative influences. He said family came first. She said he chose where they lived, where they ate, what they bought. He said he had better taste. He said she could trust him. Rebecca took notes. Her pen moved steadily across the page. She asked if Lily would testify. She said Lily's testimony would matter. She said it would show Brandon's pattern of control. Lily looked at me. Her eyes held questions. I nodded once. Lily turned back to Rebecca. She said yes. She said she would testify. Rebecca explained what came next. Depositions. Pre-trial hearings. Media attention. Brandon's lawyers would be aggressive. She said they would try to paint Lily as complicit. They would say she enjoyed the lifestyle. They would say she chose not to ask questions. She said Lily needed to be ready. She said the defense would be ruthless. Lily's hands were folded in her lap. Her knuckles were white. She asked how long until trial. Rebecca said 4 to 6 months. Maybe longer. Courts moved slowly. Lily asked what Brandon was doing now. Rebecca said he had made bail. $200,000. His parents had paid it. She said he was required to wear an ankle monitor. He could not leave the state. He could not contact Lily. Lily's face went pale. She asked if he knew where she was staying. Rebecca said yes. The court had her address on file. It was public record. I felt cold. I had not considered this. Rebecca said violations of the no-contact order were taken seriously. She said Lily should call the police immediately if Brandon came near her. She gave Lily her cell phone number. She said to call anytime, day or night. We left the office at noon. Rain had started. Light drops that dotted the windshield. Lily was quiet on the drive home. She stared out the window. Her breath fogged the glass. Halfway back, she spoke. She said she wanted to change her name. She said she did not want to be Lily Hale anymore. She said she wanted to be Lily Mitchell again. Her maiden name, the name she had before Brandon. I said we would file the paperwork. I said we would do it Monday. She asked if I was scared. She asked if I worried about Brandon coming to the bungalow. I said no. I said Daniel had people watching. I said Brandon was not that stupid. But my hands gripped the steering wheel tighter than usual. At home, Lily went to her room. She closed the door softly. I stood at the kitchen window. Rain fell harder now. The ocean was gray and rough. I thought about Brandon on bail. Walking free. Wearing a suit and an ankle monitor. I thought about the distance between our house and his parents' home. 47 miles. I thought about locks. About deadbolts. About the baseball bat Robert had kept by the bed. I checked the doors twice that night. I tested the windows. I left lights on in the hallway. Lily did not come out for dinner. I brought her soup. She thanked me but did not eat. At midnight, I heard her moving. She was painting. The smell of turpentine drifted under her door. I sat in the living room. The house creaked. Rain drummed on the roof. Morning would come, and the day after. And the day after that, Brandon was out there somewhere. Angry, desperate, dangerous. But we were not alone. We had evidence. We had the law. We had each other. I stayed awake until dawn. Just in case. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Monday came with wind that rattled the windows. Lily and I drove to the courthouse. The name change petition required one form. 10 minutes to complete. A filing fee of $85. The clerk processed it without questions. She said a judge would review it within 30 days. She said the order would be mailed. Lily signed her old name for the last time. Her handwriting was small and careful. Outside, the wind pulled at our coats. Leaves scattered across the parking lot. Lily asked if we could stop somewhere. She said she needed to see the ocean. We drove to the public beach access. The lot was empty. Season had ended. Tourists had gone home. Sand blew across the boardwalk. The ocean was dark green and choppy. Foam gathered at the tide line. Lily walked to the water's edge. Waves crashed and pulled back. Her hair whipped around her face. She stood there for 20 minutes. She did not speak. When she returned to the car, her eyes were dry. Something had shifted in her face. Something harder. That week, she went back to work. Night shifts at the hospital. 11 to 7. Her supervisor pulled her aside the first night. She asked if Lily was all right. She asked if Lily needed time off. Lily said no. She said work helped. She said routine mattered. The other nurses were kind. They did not ask questions. They shared their patients. They brought extra coffee. One nurse left a card in Lily's locker. It said, "We believe you." Nothing more. Lily carried it in her scrub pocket for weeks. At home, she painted in the evenings. She set up an easel in the spare room. Canvas after canvas appeared. The paintings were dark. Blacks and grays and deep reds. Abstract shapes that looked like cages. Like bars. Like walls closing in. She did not show them to me. I saw them when I passed her open door. One painting stood apart from the others. It showed a woman's silhouette. The figure was stepping through a tear in the canvas. Light poured through the opening. That one she hung on her wall. Daniel called in early November. He said the trial date was set. February 15th. 3 months away. He said Brandon's lawyers were filing motions. They wanted evidence suppressed. They claimed the wire recordings were obtained illegally. Rebecca Walsh shut them down. The judge ruled the recordings admissible. The defense appealed. The appeal was denied. Brandon's legal team changed tactics. They offered a plea deal. 10 years in exchange for guilty pleas on 6 counts. Rebecca presented the offer to Lily. She said the decision was partly Lily's. She said victim input mattered. Lily asked what Rebecca recommended. Rebecca said she wanted trial. She said the evidence was strong. She said Brandon deserved the maximum sentence. Lily agreed. She said she wanted to testify. She said she wanted people to know what he had done. Thanksgiving arrived cold and clear. Lily had the day off. We cooked together for the first time in years. Turkey breast, mashed potatoes, green beans, cornbread stuffing, pumpkin pie from a mix. We ate at the small kitchen table. Just the two of us. The meal was simple and good. Lily said she was grateful. She said she was grateful for the bungalow. For safety. For a second chance. She said she was sorry for the years she had wasted. She said she was sorry for not listening to her instincts. I told her regret was a weight she did not need to carry. I told her forward was the only direction that mattered. She asked what I was grateful for. I said truth. I said courage. I said the moment she chose to believe me. After dinner, we walked on the beach. The sand was cold. The wind had died. Stars came out thick and bright. Lily picked up shells. She filled her pockets. She said she wanted to remember this day. She said it felt like the first day of something new. December brought depositions. Brandon's lawyers questioned Lily for 6 hours. 2 sessions. 3 lawyers in expensive suits. They asked about money, about purchases, about vacations, about whether she had enjoyed the lifestyle Brandon provided. Lily answered every question. Her voice stayed level. Her hands stayed still. They asked if she had suspected anything. They asked why she had not checked bank statements. They asked if she had chosen to look away. Lily said she had trusted her husband. She said trust was not a crime. They asked if she had benefited from stolen money. They asked if she had kept jewelry and furniture. Lily said she had kept nothing. She said everything Brandon bought was tainted. She said she wanted no part of it. Rebecca sat beside her through it all. She objected when questions crossed lines. She called for breaks when Lily needed air. After the second deposition, Lily threw up in the courthouse bathroom. I held her hair back. I gave her water. She said she was fine. She said she just needed a minute. But her hands shook for the rest of the day. Christmas came quietly. We did not decorate. We did not exchange gifts. Lily worked Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Double shifts. She said other nurses had families. She said she wanted them to be home. I spent Christmas afternoon with Daniel. He brought Chinese takeout. We ate on paper plates. He said Brandon's parents had hired a new lawyer. A defense attorney from Charlotte with a reputation for getting white-collar criminals reduced sentences. He said the prosecution was ready. He said Rebecca had 23 witnesses lined up. He said the evidence was overwhelming. He asked if I was worried. I said no. I said we had done everything right. I said justice was slow but certain. He smiled. He said I sounded like Robert. I said Robert had been right about most things. On New Year's Eve, Lily finished her last painting. She called me into her room. The canvas was large, 4 feet by 3 feet. It showed a ledger, columns of numbers, lines and calculations. But the ledger was ripping down the middle. A woman was stepping through. Her face was turned toward light. Lily said she was calling it breaking the ledger. She said it was the centerpiece of everything she had painted. I asked if she planned to show the work. She said maybe, someday, when she was ready. That night, we stayed up until midnight. We drank sparkling cider. We watched the ball drop on television. When the clock struck 12, Lily cried. Not from sadness, from relief. She said the worst year of her life was over. She said the next year had to be better. I held her hand. I said it would be. I said we would make sure of it. January brought preparation. Rebecca scheduled practice sessions. She asked Lily the questions the defense would ask. She taught Lily how to answer clearly, how to breathe through difficult moments. Lily practiced in front of a mirror. She practiced with me. She wrote out answers and memorized them. She lost weight. She stopped sleeping through the night. I heard her pacing at 2 and 3 in the morning. She told her supervisor she needed 2 weeks off. The trial would take at least that long. Maybe more. Her supervisor approved it immediately. She said the hospital supported Lily completely. She said Lily's job was secure. The weekend before trial, Lily asked if she could cut her hair. She said she wanted to look different. She said she wanted to look strong. We went to a salon in town. The stylist cut 6 inches. Lily's hair now barely touched her shoulders. In the mirror, she looked older. She looked harder. She looked ready. Sunday night, I made her favorite meal. Chicken and rice. Simple. Familiar. She ate slowly. She asked if I would sit in the courtroom. She asked if I would be there every day. I said yes. I said I would be in the front row. I said I would not miss a minute. She asked what would happen if Brandon was acquitted. She asked if we would be safe. I said he would not be acquitted. I said the evidence was too strong. But I had already called a locksmith. New deadbolts were installed on every door. Motion sensor lights lined the driveway. Monday morning arrived clear and cold. Trial started at 9. We left the house at 7:30. Lily wore a navy dress. Simple earrings. No makeup except lipstick. She looked like someone who told the truth. We parked near the courthouse. Other cars filled the lot. News vans lined the street. Cameras waited on the steps. Rebecca met us at a side entrance. She led us through security. She brought us to a waiting room. She said the jury had been seated Friday. 12 people, 7 women, 5 men, ages ranging from 24 to 68. She said opening statements would begin at 9:30. She said Lily would testify on day 3. She asked if Lily was ready. Lily nodded. Her jaw was set. Her hands were steady. The courtroom doors opened. We walked inside. Brandon sat at the defense table. His suit was dark blue. His hair was cut short. He looked smaller than I remembered. He turned when we entered. His eyes found Lily. She looked back. She did not flinch. She did not look away. The bailiff called for everyone to rise. The judge entered. A woman in her 50s. Gray hair. Sharp eyes. The trial began. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Rebecca's opening statement lasted 32 minutes. Her voice filled the courtroom without strain. She outlined 3 years of theft. Shell companies with fictional addresses. Wire transfers to offshore accounts. Clients who trusted Brandon with retirement savings. She said Brandon Hale had stolen $3.2 million. She said he had forged signatures. She said he had blamed his wife when investigators started asking questions. The jury listened without expression. Pens moved across notepads. Brandon's lawyer stood next. His name was Marcus Thorpe. Silver hair. Expensive watch. A voice trained for persuasion. He said the prosecution would show numbers but not intent. He said Brandon had made mistakes but not crimes. He said complex financial transactions often looked suspicious to outsiders. He said Brandon's wife had enjoyed every dollar. He said she had asked no questions because she had not wanted answers. Lily's hand tightened on the armrest. I covered it with mine. The first witness took the stand at 11. An accountant from the State Financial Crimes Unit. He walked the jury through spreadsheets. Transfers that moved money between accounts. Deposits that appeared and vanished within hours. He showed how Brandon had created false client portfolios. How he had generated fake statements. How he had skimmed profits before reporting them. The defense cross-examined for 2 hours. They asked about other employees with access. They asked about digital security. They asked if anyone else could have made the transfers. The accountant said no. He said the digital signature was Brandon's. He said the access codes were Brandon's. He said the pattern was consistent and deliberate. Day 2 brought more witnesses. A client who had lost her pension. A couple who had trusted Brandon with their daughter's college fund. They described meetings in Brandon's office. His confidence. His promises. His assurance that their money was safe. They described discovering the accounts were empty. The phone calls that went unanswered. The emails that bounced back. One man cried on the stand. He said he had worked 40 years. He said Brandon had stolen his future in 18 months. The defense asked if Brandon had personally handled their accounts. They suggested other employees might have been responsible. But the documents told a different story. Brandon's signature appeared on every fraudulent statement. Day 3 arrived gray and cold. Rain streaked the courthouse windows. Rebecca called Lily to the stand at 10:15. Lily stood slowly. Her dress was dark gray. Her hair was pulled back. She wore no jewelry except her grandmother's ring. She walked to the witness box. She raised her right hand. She swore to tell the truth. Rebecca started gently. She asked Lily about her work. About nursing. About night shifts and patient care. Lily's voice was steady. She described 12-hour shifts. Double shifts during holidays. The exhaustion that came with the job. Rebecca asked when Lily had met Brandon. Lily said 5 years ago. At a charity fundraiser. He had seemed kind, attentive, interested in her work. Rebecca asked about their courtship. Lily said Brandon had been generous. Flowers every week. Dinners at expensive restaurants. Weekend trips to the mountains. She said he had made her feel special. He had said she deserved to be cared for. He had said she worked too hard. Rebecca asked about their finances after marriage. Lily said Brandon had insisted on managing everything. He had said it was his gift to her. He had said she should focus on healing people. She said he had opened bank accounts in her name. He had said it was for tax purposes. He had said couples should consolidate their assets. She said she had trusted him completely. Rebecca asked if Lily had signed documents. Lily said yes. Stacks of papers. Brandon would bring them home and point to signature lines. He had said they were routine. Refinancing paperwork. Insurance updates. Investment allocations. She said she had never read them carefully. She said Brandon had always been in a hurry. He had said the details did not matter. He had said lawyers made everything too complicated. Rebecca showed Lily a document. An account application with her signature. Lily said she had never seen it before the arrest. Rebecca showed her another. A transfer authorization. $200,000 moved to an offshore account. Lily said the signature looked like hers. But she had no memory of signing it. Rebecca asked if Brandon had ever been controlling. Lily paused. She looked down at her hands. She said yes. Quietly at first. Then louder. She said Brandon had asked for her phone password. He had said it was for convenience. In case she missed important calls during shifts. She said he had started checking her messages. Her emails. Her social media. He had said it was because he worried. He had said the world was dangerous. He had said he wanted to protect her. Rebecca asked about Lily's friends. Lily said they had drifted away. Brandon had not liked them. He had said they were jealous of what Lily had. He had said they were negative influences. She said she had stopped making plans. It was easier than arguing. Rebecca asked about money, about whether Lily had access to their accounts. Lily said no. She said Brandon gave her a credit card. He said it was for groceries and gas. Anything else required his approval. She said he had called it budgeting. He had said they were saving for the future. The courtroom was silent. The jury watched Lily closely. Rebecca asked about the day of the arrest. Lily described the phone call, the drive to my bungalow, the moment she learned the truth. She said she had not believed it at first. She said it had felt impossible. She said Brandon had been her husband, her partner, the person she trusted most. Then she had seen the documents, the accounts with her name, the transfers she had never authorized, the evidence of 3 years of lies. Her voice broke slightly. She steadied it. She continued. She said she had felt betrayed, used, foolish. She said she had given Brandon everything. Her trust, her independence, her sense of self. She said he had taken it all and asked for more. Rebecca thanked her. She returned to her seat. Marcus Thorpe stood. He buttoned his jacket. He approached the witness box. He asked if Lily had enjoyed the house, the car, the furniture, the vacations to Charleston and Asheville. Lily said yes. She had enjoyed them at the time. She had not known they were purchased with stolen money. Thorpe asked if she had ever questioned where the money came from. He suggested she had been willfully blind. Lily said no. She said she had trusted her husband. She said that was what marriage meant. Thorpe asked if she had spent the money freely. He pointed out shopping trips, restaurant charges, spa visits. Lily said Brandon had encouraged all of it. He had said she deserved it. He had said she worked hard and should enjoy life. Thorpe suggested she had been complicit, that she had known and chosen not to ask questions, that she had benefited knowingly from fraud. Lily's jaw tightened. She said that was not true. She said she had been manipulated. She said there was a difference between trust and conspiracy. Thorpe pressed harder. He asked why she had not checked bank statements, why she had not asked about account balances, why she had signed documents without reading them. Lily said because she had loved him, because she had believed him, because she had thought partnership meant sharing burdens. She said she had been wrong. But being wrong was not a crime. The cross-examination lasted 90 minutes. Thorpe circled the same questions. Lily's answers remained consistent. When she stepped down, her face was pale. But she walked steadily. She did not look at Brandon. The prosecution called more witnesses. Brandon's coworker, a man named James Riddick. He testified that Brandon had approached him 2 years ago. Brandon had offered him a cut if he stayed quiet about certain transactions. James had said no. He had reported it to his supervisor. Nothing had happened. The supervisor had been Brandon's friend. James said Brandon had bragged once during a business trip. He had said his wife's signature was insurance. He had said if anything went wrong, investigators would look at her first. The courtroom inhaled collectively. Jurors looked at Brandon. His face showed nothing. The prosecution rested on day 7. They had presented 23 witnesses, hundreds of documents, wire recordings that played Brandon's voice through courtroom speakers. The defense called 4 witnesses. Character witnesses. Brandon's parents. A college professor. A former client who praised his early work. None of them addressed the evidence directly. Brandon did not testify. His lawyers advised against it. The prosecution would have torn him apart. Closing arguments came on day 9. Rebecca spoke for 50 minutes. She reminded the jury of the evidence. The pattern, the signatures, the wire recordings. She said Brandon Hale was a thief who had hidden behind his wife. She said he had stolen from people who trusted him. She said he deserved the maximum sentence under law. Thorpe spoke for 40 minutes. He suggested reasonable doubt. He suggested the prosecution had not proven intent. He suggested the financial system was too complex for clear conclusions. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. They returned at 3:30 on a Friday afternoon. The foreperson stood. A woman in her 50s. She wore reading glasses on a chain. The judge asked if they had reached a verdict. The foreperson said yes. The clerk read the charges. Embezzlement, wire fraud, identity theft, conspiracy, forgery. After each charge, the foreperson said guilty. Her voice did not waver. Guilty on all counts. Brandon's head dropped. His lawyer touched his shoulder. His parents sat motionless in the gallery. Lily sat beside me. She did not move. She barely breathed. The judge thanked the jury. She set sentencing for 6 weeks. She remanded Brandon to custody immediately. Bailiffs approached the defense table. They placed handcuffs on Brandon's wrists. He turned toward Lily one last time. His face held something that might have been regret, or anger, or disbelief. Lily stared back. Her eyes were dry. Her expression was blank. The bailiffs led him away. A side door closed behind them. The courtroom emptied slowly. Reporters rushed to file stories. Spectators gathered coats and bags. Lily and I sat until the room was nearly empty. Rebecca came over. She said Lily had done well. She said the verdict was just. Outside, the rain had stopped. The air smelled clean. Street lights reflected in puddles. Lily stopped on the courthouse steps. She looked up at the sky. Clouds were breaking. Stars appeared in the gaps. She said it was over. She said she could breathe again. I took her hand. We walked to the car together. The long night had ended. Morning was coming. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Sentencing came 6 weeks later on a Thursday morning in late March. The courtroom felt smaller than before. Fewer spectators. No cameras allowed. Just family and victims and people who needed to see the ending. Brandon wore an orange jumpsuit. His hair had grown longer. His face looked thin. 6 weeks in county jail had stripped away the polish. The judge entered at 9. The same woman who had presided over trial. Her expression revealed nothing. She asked if anyone wished to speak before sentencing. Rebecca stood. She said 3 victims had prepared statements. The first was an elderly man named Thomas Green. He was 78. He walked with a cane. His wife sat beside him in a wheelchair. He read from a piece of paper. His hands shook. He said Brandon had stolen his retirement. $300,000. Money he had saved for 40 years. He said they had lost their home. They now lived with their daughter. In a basement bedroom. At an age when they should have been traveling. He said his wife had stopped talking about the future. She had stopped making plans. Hope required money they no longer had. His voice broke. He sat down. His wife reached for his hand. The second victim was a woman named Patricia Voss. She was 52, a teacher. She wore a simple dress and no makeup. She said Brandon had managed her late husband's life insurance. $500,000. Money meant to send her children to college. She said the accounts were empty when her daughter started applying to schools. She said her daughter now worked full-time and attended community college at night. She said Brandon had stolen more than money. He had stolen possibility. He had stolen her children's future. She looked at Brandon as she spoke. He did not look back. The third victim was Lily. She had asked to speak. Rebecca had said it was her right. Lily stood slowly. She carried no paper, no notes. She walked to the podium. She said her name. Her voice was clear and calm. She said she had been married to Brandon for 3 years. She said he had isolated her gradually. First from friends, then from family, then from her own sense of judgment. She said he had controlled every dollar, every decision, every aspect of her daily life. She said she had believed it was love. She had believed partnership required trust. She had believed marriage meant letting go of independence. She said she had been wrong. She said trust and control were not the same thing. She said love did not require surrender. She said Brandon had used her name without permission. He had forged her signature on documents. He had built an escape route that led directly to her. She said he had not just stolen money. He had stolen her identity, her autonomy, her ability to trust herself. She said she was rebuilding now. Slowly, one day at a time. But the damage would take years to undo. She said she hoped the court would consider every victim. Not just the ones who lost money, but the ones who lost themselves. She returned to her seat. Her hands were steady. Her breathing was even. The judge asked Brandon if he wished to speak. His lawyer shook his head. Brandon remained silent. The judge reviewed the charges. 8 counts, each carrying maximum sentences, each proven beyond reasonable doubt. She spoke about breach of trust, about vulnerability, about the particular cruelty of financial crimes against those who could least afford them. She said Brandon Hale had shown no remorse. He had blamed others. He had painted himself as a victim of complex circumstances. She said the evidence told a different story. A story of deliberate theft, of calculated manipulation, of a man who believed he was smarter than the law. She sentenced him to 14 years in federal prison. No parole eligibility for 7 years. Restitution of $3.2 million plus interest and penalties. She said she hoped the time would teach him something he had clearly never learned. That other people mattered. That consequences were real. The gavel fell. The sound echoed in the quiet courtroom. Brandon's head dropped. His lawyer gathered papers. Bailiffs approached the defense table. Brandon glanced at Lily one last time. His eyes held something that looked like accusation. As if she had betrayed him. As if she had done this to him. Lily met his gaze without flinching. She did not look away until the bailiffs led him through the side door. Outside, spring had arrived early. Dogwoods bloomed white and pink. The air smelled like pollen and rain. Lily stopped on the courthouse steps. She tilted her face toward the sun. Her eyes closed. A small smile appeared. She said she felt lighter. She said something heavy had lifted. She said she could finally sleep. We drove home slowly. Windows down. Radio off. Just the sound of wind and wheels on asphalt. At the bungalow, Lily changed into jeans and a sweatshirt. She pulled her hair into a ponytail. She looked younger than she had in months. She said she wanted to look for an apartment. She said she needed her own space. She said it was time. We spent the weekend looking. Small places. 1 bedroom. Within her budget on a nurse's salary. She found one above a bakery on Market Street. The owners were an older couple. They liked that Lily was a nurse. They said healthcare workers were good tenants. The apartment was small, 400 square feet. Kitchen, bathroom, one room that served as bedroom and living room. Hardwood floors, windows that faced east. The rent was $800 a month. Utilities included. Lily could afford it. Barely. But it was hers. She signed the lease in early April. She moved in 2 weeks later. I helped carry boxes up the narrow stairs. The bakery opened at 5 every morning. The smell of bread rose through the floorboards. Lily said it smelled like hope. She bought furniture from thrift stores. A bed frame, a small table, 2 chairs, a lamp, plates and glasses from the dollar store. She hung her paintings on the walls. The abstract pieces, the dark ones and the light ones. Breaking the ledger hung above her bed. She returned to full-time shifts at the hospital. She picked up extra hours when they were offered. She paid her bills on time. She built savings slowly. She started a painting class on Saturday mornings. The community college offered it for free. 8 weeks. Beginner and intermediate students. The instructor was a woman in her 60s. She had shown work in galleries across the state. She looked at Lily's portfolio and asked where she had studied. Lily said nowhere. She said she had painted in high school. Then stopped. Then started again after her life fell apart. The instructor said trauma often produced the most honest work. She said Lily had talent. She said she should consider showing her pieces. Lily laughed. She said she was not ready for that. She said painting was private, personal, a way to process what words could not hold. The instructor said that was how all good art started. In May, Daniel called. He said restitution payments had begun. The court had seized Brandon's assets. The house, the cars, the furniture, everything was being sold. He said victims would receive partial repayment. Not everything, but something. Enough to make a difference. He said a portion of my bungalow's attempted sale price had been recovered. Money Brandon had tried to funnel through fake accounts. Money that legally belonged to me. The check arrived 2 weeks later. $43,000. Enough to cover my medical bills. Enough to keep the bungalow another decade. I sat on the porch that evening. The check lay on the table beside me. The ocean moved in steady rhythm. I thought about Robert, about his belief in documentation, in evidence, in the slow machinery of justice. I thought about the notebooks he had kept, the details he had recorded, the patterns he had taught me to see. I told the empty air that we had won. I said it quietly, just once. The wind carried the words away. Lily came for dinner that Sunday. She brought flowers from the farmer's market. Yellow tulips, early roses, spring colors. We ate on the porch. Grilled fish, salad, bread from the bakery below her apartment. She talked about work, a difficult patient who had recovered, a new doctor who listened, a raise that would start in June. She talked about the painting class, a still life she was working on, a landscape she wanted to attempt. She asked if I was lonely. She asked if I wanted company more often. She said she could visit twice a week, maybe 3 times. I said I was fine. I said I had the ocean. I said I had routines that kept me steady. She asked if I ever thought about Robert, about what he would say about everything that had happened. I said yes, every day. I said he would be proud. I said he would say we had followed the evidence. We had trusted the process. We had done it right. She asked if I forgave myself for not seeing Brandon sooner, for not warning her before the wedding. I said hindsight was cruel and useless. I said we could only work with what we knew at the time. I said survival was the only victory that mattered. She smiled. She said she was learning that. She said some days were easier than others. She said she was getting stronger. After dinner, we walked on the beach. The tide was low. Sand stretched wide and firm. Shells littered the waterline. Lily collected pieces of sea glass. Green and brown and frosted white. She filled her pockets. She said she wanted to make something. A mosaic maybe. Or a mobile for her window. The sun set behind us. The sky turned orange and purple. Stars appeared one by one. Lily said she was happy. She said it surprised her. She said she had not expected happiness to return so quickly. I said happiness was resilient. I said it found cracks to grow through. I said she deserved every moment of it. We walked until dark. Then we climbed the dunes and returned to the bungalow. Lily drove home. Her taillights disappeared down the beach road. I sat on the porch until the stars were thick. The ocean roared. The wind smelled like salt. The hard part was behind us. The future stretched open, uncertain but ours. We had fought back. We had won. We had survived. And that, I thought, was enough. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Summer arrived with heat that softened the tar on beach roads. Lily finished her painting class in June. The instructor invited her to submit work to a group show. A small gallery in Raleigh. 3 walls. Local artists only. Lily hesitated. She said her work was too personal. Too raw. She said strangers would not understand. The instructor said that was exactly why it mattered. She said honest work found honest audiences. She said Lily should trust herself. Lily submitted 3 pieces. Breaking the Ledger. A painting called Reclaimed. Another titled The Space Between Chains. The gallery accepted all 3. The show would open in September. First Friday of the month. Wine and cheese. Local press invited. Lily asked if I would come. She said she needed someone there who understood where the work came from. I said yes. I said I would not miss it. July brought a phone call from a woman named Sarah Chen. She ran a nonprofit in Durham. They worked with survivors of financial abuse. Sarah had followed the trial. She had read about Lily's testimony. She said Lily's words had resonated with women across the state. She asked if Lily would consider joining their board. She said they needed people who had lived the experience. People who understood manipulation and control and the slow erosion of self. Lily said she would think about it. She called me that night. She asked if she was ready. She asked if she had anything to offer. I said she had survived. I said that was everything. I said other women needed to hear her voice. Lily called Sarah back. She said yes. She joined the board in August. Monthly meetings, strategy sessions, fundraising events. She helped design a workshop on warning signs, red flags in relationships, financial control, isolation, the language abusers used to make victims doubt themselves. The workshop launched in September. 20 women attended the first session. They sat in metal chairs in a church basement. They shared stories that sounded like echoes. Lily told her story without crying. She described Brandon's gradual takeover. The passwords, the bank accounts, the way he had framed control as care. She said leaving required evidence, documentation, witnesses, a plan that could not be undone by charm or threat. She said the law moved slowly, but it moved. She said justice was possible. She said survival was the first step. Women thanked her afterward. They asked for her number. They said they had felt alone until that moment. Lily drove home and called me. She said she felt useful. She said helping others helped her. She said she finally understood why I had worn the wire. The gallery opening arrived on a Friday evening. The first week of September. The air was still warm. Late summer clinging to early fall. The gallery sat on Glenwood Avenue. White walls, concrete floors, track lighting that made shadows sharp and clean. Lily arrived early. She wore a black dress. Simple jewelry. Her hair had grown past her shoulders. She looked nervous and proud in equal measure. I came at 6. The gallery was filling. Young professionals, art students, people who read opening announcements in weekly papers. Lily's 3 paintings hung on the west wall. Spotlights made the colors deeper. Breaking the Ledger dominated the space. 4 feet by 3 feet. Impossible to ignore. People gathered in front of it. They stood close. They read the title card. They looked at Lily and then back at the painting. A man in a suit asked if the work was for sale. Lily said yes. She had priced it at $1,200. The gallery's suggestion. She had thought no one would pay it. The man wrote a check before the opening remarks ended. He said he worked in corporate compliance. He said the piece reminded him why his job mattered. He said art that told the truth was worth any price. Lily's hands shook as she accepted the check. Her eyes filled but no tears fell. By 7:30, all 3 paintings had sold. Reclaimed went to a therapist who specialized in trauma. The space between chains went to a law student writing a thesis on coercive control. The gallery owner asked if Lily had more work. She said yes. She said she had been painting for months. She said she had 12 finished pieces at home. The owner asked to see them. She said Lily's work had power. She said people responded to honesty. She said she wanted to schedule a solo show. Lily said she would think about it. She said yes before we left. We walked to a restaurant 2 blocks away. A quiet place with cloth napkins and candles on the tables. Lily ordered wine. She rarely drank, but tonight felt different. Tonight felt like celebration. She said she could not believe people had paid for her paintings. She said she could not believe strangers had seen her pain and called it art. I said pain transformed was no longer just pain. I said it became testimony. Evidence. Proof that survival was possible. She asked if I was proud. I said yes. I said I had always been proud. I said tonight just made it visible. After dinner, we drove back to the Outer Banks. Windows down. Radio playing softly. The highway stretched dark and empty. At the bungalow, we sat on the porch. The ocean was loud. Waves crashed white in the moonlight. Lily said a publisher had reached out. They had heard about her board work. They wanted to know if she would write a book. A memoir. A guide. Something that combined story and practical advice. She asked if I thought she could do it. She said she had never written more than patient notes. I said writing was just talking on paper. I said she had already done the hard part. She had lived it. She had survived it. She had learned to speak about it. She said she would try. She said she would start small. A few pages at a time. See where it went. October brought cooler nights and shorter days. Leaves turned but did not fall. Not yet. Coastal trees held their color longer. Lily cut back her hospital shifts to part-time. 3 days a week instead of 5. She needed time for painting. For writing. For the board work that kept growing. She wrote in the mornings. At the small table in her apartment. Coffee and notebook and the smell of bread rising from below. She wrote about Brandon. About the lies she had believed. About the moment she realized trust had been weaponized against her. She wrote about The Wire. About my courage to act. About the trial and the verdict and the slow return of her own voice. She wrote about recovery. About how healing was not linear. About bad days that arrived without warning. About the work of rebuilding a self that had been systematically dismantled. She showed me pages in November. Her handwriting was small and neat. Her sentences were clear. Her voice came through honest and direct. I told her it was good. I told her other women would see themselves in her words. I told her that mattered more than polish. She said she had a title. She wanted to call it Breaking the Ledger. The same as her painting. She said it captured everything. The numbers. The control. The rupture that led to freedom. December arrived with cold that felt sharper than usual. Wind came off the ocean like a blade. The bungalow rattled but held. Lily came for Christmas Eve. She brought groceries and wine. We cooked together. Ham, sweet potatoes, green beans, biscuits from scratch. She gave me a painting. Small, 8 by 10 inches. It showed the bungalow at sunset. The porch. The dunes. The ocean beyond. The light was golden and warm. She said this house had saved her. She said she wanted me to see it the way she did. As a place of safety. As a place of beginning again. I hung it in the living room. Above the chair where I read. Where I could see it every day. I gave her a bracelet. Silver. Simple. A single charm. A key. She looked at me with questions in her eyes. I said keys opened doors. I said keys meant ownership. I said she held the keys to her own life now. No one else could take them. She put it on immediately. She wore it every day after. New Year's Eve came quiet and cold. Lily worked a shift at the hospital. I stayed home. I watched the ocean instead of television. At midnight, fireworks bloomed over Nag's Head. Distant colors reflected on dark water. The booms arrived seconds late. Sound chasing light. I thought about the year that had passed. The trial. The verdict. The sentencing. The slow unfolding of new life. I thought about Lily painting in her small apartment. Writing at her small table. Helping women who carried the same scars she did. I thought about Brandon in a federal prison somewhere. Years ahead of him. Years to think about the lives he had stolen. The trust he had shattered. The future he had traded for greed. I felt no satisfaction in his suffering. Only relief that he could hurt no one else. January arrived with news. Lily's book had found a publisher. A small press that specialized in memoirs of resilience. They offered a modest advance. $5,000. Enough to matter. The solo show was scheduled for March. The same gallery. 20 pieces. A full retrospective of her work from the past year. Lily asked if I would speak at the opening. She said I was part of the story. She said people should know what a mother's courage looked like. I said no. I said this was her moment. I said I would be in the audience. I said that was enough. February brought warm days that felt like borrowed spring. The trial's 1-year anniversary passed without ceremony. Just another day. Another shift at the hospital. Another page written. Lily called one evening. She said she had been thinking. She said she wanted to thank me. Really thank me. She said I had risked everything. My safety. My relationship with her. The chance she would hate me for interfering. She said I had chosen truth over comfort. Evidence over denial. Her future over her present feelings. She said she understood now what love looked like. Not control. Not possession. Not even protection. Love looked like a wire hidden under a cardigan. Love looked like patience and planning and the willingness to be hated if necessary. Love looked like a mother who would rather be resented than silent. I told her she did not need to thank me. I told her I had done what any mother would do. I had seen danger and moved toward it instead of away. She said not every mother would have. She said some would have looked away. Some would have chosen peace over truth. She said I had taught her what strength looked like, what justice looked like, what it meant to fight back. The line went quiet for a moment. Then she said she loved me. She said she was proud to be my daughter. I said I loved her too. I said I had always loved her. I said nothing Brandon had done could ever change that. March came soft and green. The solo show opened on a Saturday. The gallery was crowded, more people than chairs, standing room only. Lily's paintings covered 3 walls. A year of work, a year of healing made visible. Breaking the Ledger still hung in the center. But now it was surrounded by pieces that showed what came after. Light, color, open spaces, hands reaching not for rescue but for connection. The show sold out in 2 hours. Every piece, every canvas. People wrote checks. They asked about commissions. They asked when her book would be published. Lily stood in the center of the room, surrounded by strangers who understood her work, who saw her pain and her triumph and called both of them beautiful. She looked at me across the crowded gallery. She smiled, not the small careful smile she had worn for years, but something bigger, something that took up her whole face. I smiled back. I raised my glass slightly. A silent toast. To survival. To truth. To the long slow work of building a life that belonged only to her. Outside, spring had arrived fully. Dogwoods bloomed. Azaleas opened pink and white. The world was renewing itself the way it always did. We had done the same. Lily and I. We had broken what needed breaking. We had built what needed building. The road ahead was long. But it was ours. And we would walk it together. One step. One day. One piece of evidence at a time.